Good evening. They have until Monday. That's the word from officials at the University of Toronto, who today issued a notice of trespass to the encampment protesters that have been on campus for weeks.
Encampment organizers have turned down a proposal from school officials, and according to the trespass notice, they must now leave by 8 a.m. Monday, or the school will take legal action. CTV's Mike Walker is live on campus tonight with the latest. Mike.
Well, Michelle, Nathan, the university issued this trespass notice minutes after the 4 p.m. deadline. Demonstrators called the university's offer inadequate and an ultimatum, but we are learning that both sides are planning to meet over the weekend. With the deadline to accept the University of Toronto's offer passed.
It's a notice of trespass. Okay. And make sure you hand that out to everybody.
Special constables deliver trespass notices to pro-Palestinian encampment organizers. But students and demonstrators are vowing to stay put.
This document is a farce.
Rejecting the University of Toronto's offer to end the encampment that has occupied the green space at King's College Circle for more than 3 weeks now and includes more than 170 tents.
This document is nothing but a summary of their already existing procedure on divestment and disclosure, with a few minor tweaks to bait us into thinking that we are getting a good deal out of this.
Our offer is fair and reasonable.
The university's offer includes inviting students to present their demands to UFT's Business Board of Governing Council, plus forming a working group to consider options for the disclosure of the school's investments. But the university said it won't end any partnerships with Israeli schools, which is one of the demands.
Our approach is in keeping with the university's fundamental commitments to free expression, peaceful protest, and the diversity of opinions that exist in our community.
We have been given a proposal for a committee. We have not been given commitments for divestment. We want commitments for divestment. We demand commitments for divestment.
The university says it has made it clear to demonstrators since the onset that encampments on its property are illegal. And it also has a number of health and safety concerns. UFT also says there have been numerous incidents of hateful acts and speech on campus reported to police since the encampment was established.
Jewish students are reporting to us that they feel unsafe, they feel targeted.
Jay Solomon is with Hillel Ontario, an advocacy group for Jewish students, which has been calling for the removal of the encampment.
It's long since time for the university to take meaningful, concrete steps to ensure that Jewish students, like every other student on this campus, is able to come to school and study and live and work free from harassment and intimidation.
The university now giving demonstrators until late Monday morning to clear the encampment, but before then, both sides will meet over the weekend.
It's the first time that we've seen this in writing, and so there's lots more room for improvement.
But if the encampment is not removed, the notice states the university will take necessary legal steps. The university and demonstrators are expected to meet at 5 p.m. on Sunday. In the meantime, Toronto police say the university has not reached out to them for assistance to clear the encampment. Reporting live, I'm Mike Walker. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Mike. And as tensions mount on U of T's St. George campus, questions remain tonight over a vandalism incident at the university's campus in Scarborough. This morning, a number of red triangles were spotted on the side of buildings in the campus on Military Trail. They also featured crosshairs. Those upside-down triangles have become a popular symbol among pro-Palestinian advocates. Some interpretations link them to videos from Hamas's military wing that highlight Israeli targets with red triangles. The paint was soon covered up. The Toronto Police Hate Crime Unit says it is aware of the occurrence.
Just ahead tonight, York Regional Police are looking for the public's help after shots were fired at a Richmond Hill movie theater early this morning. It's the third time that's happened in the past week.
To the courts in Brampton next, where jurors in a murder trial have heard the accused had connections to the terror group ISIS.
The Crown says the reason a Mississauga man was killed and 4 of his family members were injured was because he was ready to expose those terrorist ties. CTV John Woodward's been following the trial and joins us live tonight with more. John.
Nathan, we heard this week the Crown's theory of the case that the young victim had just started a warehouse job where he realized the people with him were supporting a listed terrorist organization, wanted to expose them, and their plan to stop him was to kill him and his family.
It was a bloody scene in May of 2021 in the family-run restaurant Chickenland. 5 people shot. 25-year-old Naeem Akil died in an attack that shocked the city of Mississauga.
I just don't understand.
It's senseless.
really is. It's just senseless.
At the time, police released this surveillance video of the gunman before and after the shooting, part of an investigation that led to the arrests of 3 men, Nakash Abbasi, Suleiman Raza, and Anand Nath, and led the Crown Attorney to tell a jury in the first-degree murder trial at the Brampton Courthouse that Akil had gone to work in Abbasi's warehouse. Crown Attorney David Diorio said you will hear evidence that Naeem Akil had become aware that the group had pledged allegiance to ISIS. They weren't just buying and selling products, they had pledged allegiance to ISIS, the Islamic State, and money was being used to finance that organization, sent back home to further that cause. He was planning to go to the authorities and betray the others. It's our position that the others came up with a plan to prevent that from happening, a plan to kill Naeem Akil and his family. The Crown says on May 29, 2021, that plan was put into action, alleging that Nath entered the restaurant, pulled a handgun, and shot 7 times in 18 seconds. Witnesses told the court they saw a slender man rush from the restaurant and hop into the trunk of a waiting Honda Accord, which sped off. Inside, Akil's mother, Rania, had heard several pops. She was shot in the arm. She rushed in to see several other family members being shot, including one of her sons. She said, "I looked at him. He was looking at me. I could see the blood everywhere on the ground. I could do nothing." She said she called 911 and then asked any driver in the gas station for help. Police pulled footage from some 70 dash cams and surveillance cameras en route to follow the Accord back to Abbasi's business, one officer testified, a major break in the case.
We've not heard from the defense counsel and nothing has been proven in court. We are told there will be more witnesses as the trial continues next week. Reporting live from the Brampton Courthouse, I'm John Woodward. Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, John. There's a developing story on the QEW this evening where all Toronto-bound lanes have been closed at Glendale Avenue in St. Catharines.
It comes after an incident earlier this afternoon. As you can see from our CTV News chopper, this involves a tour bus, which appears to have a large hole in the driver's side windshield. Reports say that hole may have been caused by a tire not far from the bus. You can see a minivan that is missing its front tire. Police have not said if there are injuries in this incident. There is no word on when the highway may reopen.
Let's talk about the forecast. Here's a live look outside. A beautiful Friday evening. The water pretty still, sunny, skies still as well. So enjoy. Some rains expected tomorrow. Hopefully not too much. Jessica Smith is here with a look at the current conditions. Hey, Jess.
Hey, it's a spotty shower situation heading into the day tomorrow, but for today, we are still enjoying the beautiful sunshine. We had so much heat and humidity to start the week that, kind of made way for some pretty severe thunderstorms. But as we made our way through yesterday and today, a significantly different story. And now a nice light northwesterly breeze cutting into that humidity, keeping the sunshine at a comfortable level. Temperature-wise, we're sitting kind of in the low to mid-20s for the most part, a little cooler the further north and east you go. Over towards the island in Pearson, we're sitting between 22 and 25. Light clouds, no clouds tonight. Clear from start to finish today, but it changes into the day tomorrow. I'll break it down as we kind of get through our weekend, but right now, something's back over to Nathan and Michelle.
All right, thank you, Jess. The provincial government says it is accelerating the expansion of alcohol availability across the province.
This summer, expect to see premixed drinks and larger cases of beer in grocery stores. And after Labor Day, corner stores will be allowed to sell beer, wine, and other options. Great for convenience, but not everyone is applauding this move. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris is live tonight with more. Siobhan.
Well, this was already the Premier making good on a promise he's made years ago. The timeline to do it, though, more than a year and a half early. We are hearing that part of the way the government's doing that is spending $225 million of your dollars to make it happen.
The Premier doesn't drink alcohol, but has been pledging for years to put it in closer reach.
We're getting it done faster. In fact, we're getting it done starting this summer.
Starting August 1st, grocers and big box stores that already sell alcohol can add boozy seltzers, pre-mixed drinks, and bigger cases of beer, up to 30.
And on September the 5th, convenience stores like this one will be able to sell beer, cider, wine, and ready-to-drink alcoholic beverages.
And starting Halloween, more big retailers can sell booze if they're licensed. The expansion more than a year ahead of schedule. To make it happen, $225 million taxpayer dollars goes to the beer store through the transition.
Where it's going is to make sure that we protect the beer store employees, to make sure they know they're going to be taken care of. We're going to audit every single penny to make sure it's going in the right place.
That includes keeping a minimum number of stores open. but with hospitals under strain, municipal infrastructure buckling.
How is paying $225 million to accelerate alcohol sales the place that money should go?
Well, thank you for that, and I'll just rattle off a few things.
Boasting about high spending on health care, and Ontario ranking well compared to other provinces for access to primary care. From Ontarians, a cocktail of feelings about these changes.
People are looking for convenience at this time, so I'm worried about my young kids, so they shouldn't be able to have that easy access.
That's fantastic. Makes it easy for everybody. Everybody's happy.
Well, not everybody. The Retail Council of Canada, speaking for big grocers, calls this a sweetheart deal for the multinational companies that own the beer store. A gift from taxpayers, while pushing recycling costs onto grocers and consumers. And members will have to take a serious look at whether or not selling alcohol under this framework makes sense. For entirely different reasons, the Centre for Addiction and Mental Health is also disappointed.
And really feel like this is a choice of convenience over Ontarians' health and well-being.
CAMH says alcohol plays a role in 6,000 deaths a year in Ontario, a number they expect to rise.
We're really worried about violence and domestic violence, which is already seeing increases, and we know how linked that is to alcohol. We're worried about DUIs.
The Premier acknowledges there will be speed bumps navigating a change of this size and scope.
But I'm confident we'll get through those bumps.
This accelerated timeline is fueling speculation that the Premier may call an election early. Today, Doug Ford wouldn't commit to sticking to the June 2026 date. He says he is committed to getting his agenda through. Reporting live, I'm Siobhan Morris. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Siobhan. Meanwhile, there are new concerns tonight about the province's funding of the national $10 a day daycare program.
They come after a Toronto daycare announced it was at risk of closing because of funding issues. CTV's Beth McDonnell has the details.
Sending children to $10 a day daycare has been a lifeline for many parents. 150 spaces in the Roncesvalles area could vanish by the end of the year if more money doesn't materialize soon.
Affordable daycare is essential for families like mine, communities like this, but more than that, the entire economy of Ontario.
Sunnyside Garden Daycare is nonprofit. In a letter to municipal and provincial politicians, the daycare says while it did receive funds through its service manager, which is the city, to stay afloat, the money can't be used for operational costs, and instead it was told it had too much staff and pay raises were too excessive.
We can't deny that we are in a higher income neighborhood, but when the whole point of the $10 a day program was to introduce universal childcare, and I don't think our experience is unique. It's an experience that's being felt across the province, including for centres that are situated in neighborhoods that provide care for lower income families.
The Toronto Community for Better Childcare says it's aware of more than 20 centres facing deficit budgets. The Association of Early Childhood Educators Ontario says federal money in 2022 covered costs between parent fees with public dollars, but doesn't account for the real cost of a childcare program,
including paying decent wages to early childhood educators and childcare staff. And it hasn't accounted for rising costs because of inflation, increased wages, those types of things. So it's become more difficult over the last 2 years as the revenue is sort of stagnant.
Advocates say the Ontario government needs to release its funding formula so the sector can plan and have stability.
The government has the funding formula ready, but is not sharing with childcare providers until January 2025. Why the delay? Share the funding formula now.
An Education Ministry official says the funding formula is being finalized and will be announced this year and will be ready to be rolled out in 2025. In a statement to CTV, a spokesperson for the Minister of Education says national childcare is the federal government's signature program. We will keep cutting fees for parents, but the federal government needs to step up with funding or this program will fail across the country. 92% of Ontario's childcare centres opted into the $10 a day program. Advocates and parents want it to work. Beth McDonnell, CTV News.
Sad news out of Barrie today. A toddler has died of his injuries after he was hit by a recycling truck yesterday afternoon. It happened around 12:45 in the city's south end. The 23-month-old boy was taken to hospital before being airlifted to a trauma center. Police were later informed the child did not survive the night. The investigation into what happened is ongoing.
And back here in Toronto, a pedestrian is fighting for his life after he was struck by a vehicle downtown this morning. Emergency crews were called to the Spadina and Grange Avenue area at around 9:45. The man who was hit is believed to be in his 70s. He was rushed to hospital while the driver involved remained at the scene. The road was closed for the investigation, but reopened by 2 o'clock.
Toronto police say a man has died of his injuries after an assault last week in Scarborough. Investigators shared this image of the victim, 57-year-old Mohammed Aladdin of Toronto. On May 16th, near Eglinton and Birchmount, police say a suspect attacked him with an object, leaving him critically hurt. 65-year-old Chandrika Rampad of Toronto had faced assault charges, but after Aladdin's death on Sunday, he is now charged with second-degree murder. Police say the pair knew each other.
Meanwhile, Peel police have made an arrest in a fatal stabbing in Mississauga. On Monday morning, police were called to a motel near Britannia and Whittle Road. They found a woman in her 50s with stab wounds who was pronounced dead at the scene. Homicide detectives say the following day, they arrested 25-year-old Waleed Osman of Mississauga and charged him with second-degree murder. They say the victim and suspect are related, but this is not considered a case of intimate partner violence.
In York Region, police arrested a man in East Gwillimbury after several neighbors reported finding bullet holes on their properties this week. Investigators are accusing 47-year-old Serge Mario Proul of shooting a long gun from his backyard in the direction of the victims' homes. They say they uncovered 10 of those firearms, as well as a crossbow, ammunition, and beer cans that may have been used for target practice. Proul faces several weapons charges.
Today is the first day voters can cast a ballot in the Mississauga mayoral election.
Advanced polls opened this morning, and as CTV's John Musselman reports, there was a steady stream of voters taking advantage of the opportunity.
There was a steady stream of voters arriving today at this advanced poll at Mississauga City Hall. Residents here are voting for a new mayor next month. Housing, crime, transit, and social services are all top of mind.
We have a problem with removing snow and things like that. We haven't got someone to help us.
Housing too, yeah. The prices is overpricing. The rents is high.
Auto theft, safety of citizens.
There are 4 main contenders for the top job. The latest poll conducted by Main Street shows longtime politician Carolyn Parrish in the lead, but there is still a large percentage of undecided voters.
We have to vote or else we won't get our choice, or at least the opportunity to get our choice.
The by-election is being held to replace former Mayor Bonnie Crombie, who has moved on to provincial politics as leader of the Ontario Liberal Party. Mississauga has only had 2 mayors in the past 45 years. Hazel McCallion served as mayor for 36 years before Crombie.
To be a mayor, you need governance experience, you need fortitude, you need community experience, and you also need to be available to people given the busyness, right? So I don't see that so much in the new candidates because I've lived here in Mississauga for 18 years.
Officials with the city of Mississauga say 22 additional advanced polls will open next weekend.
To make the process as smooth as possible, it's important to bring your ID and, if you can, your voter card. The ID would be a driver's license, a bill, something that has your address on it.
The by-election will be held on June the 10th. John Musselman, CTV News in Mississauga.
As talks continue to avert a potential TTC workers' strike, there's a partial subway closure to bear in mind this weekend. All day tomorrow and Sunday, Line 2 trains won't be running between Kennedy and Woodbine stations. The TTC says this is to accommodate track work for the Scarborough subway extension and automatic train control. Shuttle buses will be running.
And critical track work is prompting changes to GO train schedules this weekend. On the Lakeshore West line, trains will run every 15 minutes between Union and Oakville GO, but only every hour between Oakville and West Harbor GO. Barrie line trains won't run at all, but replacement buses will go to and from Highway 407 station, where transfer is available to the TTC.
Peel police say a dog who was saved from a potentially dangerous situation near Pearson Airport is now home and safe. Police shared images of 7-month-old Eska last night. They say a Good Samaritan spotted her running in traffic along Airport Road and Highway 409 and handed her over to Peel police at Pearson. Animal Control took care of Eska, and by late this morning, she was reunited with her foster family.
The man responsible for the crash involving the Humboldt Broncos junior hockey team has been ordered to leave Canada. The Immigration and Refugee Board ruled today that Jaskirat Singh Sidhu be deported. 16 people were killed. 13 others were injured in 2018 when his truck ran a stop sign and into the path of the bus. Sidhu pleaded guilty to dangerous driving offenses and was sentenced to 8 years in prison. He was granted full parole last year. His lawyer says there are still numerous other legal procedures to come, and the deportation process could take months or even years.
About 9,000 Canadian border workers are one step closer to walking off the job. They voted 96% in favor of a strike mandate. The job action could happen as early as next month, a busy travel time between the U.S. and Canada. But most are considered essential workers, so basic services will be provided during a strike. Mediation sessions are scheduled to begin June 3rd. The union says members have been without an updated collective agreement for 2 years and that negotiations are at an impasse. The government insists it's ready to negotiate in good faith.
A major ruling today from the International Court of Justice on the war between Israel and Hamas.
The United Nations top court has ordered Israel to stop its military operation in Rafah. CTV's Jeremy Sharon reports.
Inside this courtroom in the Netherlands today, a landmark emergency ruling in a case brought forward by South Africa accusing Israel of genocide.
Israel has not sufficiently addressed and dispelled the concerns raised by its military offensive in Rafah.
And a strict order from the World Court.
Israel must immediately halt its military offensive and any other action in the Rafah governorate which may inflict on the Palestinian group in Gaza conditions of life that could bring about its physical destruction.
The president of the court also ordered Israel to open the Rafah border crossing to allow humanitarian aid in, calling the situation in Gaza catastrophic.
Canada's position has been clear for many, many weeks now. We need an immediate ceasefire. Hamas needs to lay down its arms, release all hostages, but there also must be no more military operations in Rafah.
The court also called for the release of all remaining hostages, and while its order is legally binding, the ICJ lacks the power to enforce it.
The International Court of Justice doesn't have its own army. It doesn't have its own police. It depends upon the Security Council to implement its orders.
This is the third time the court has issued orders for Israel to pull back and address the humanitarian suffering in Gaza, but Israel has been accused of ignoring their orders in the past.
Israeli spokesmen have already announced that essentially Israel will not comply with the order, that they will continue their operation.
Israel has repeatedly dismissed accusations of genocide, insisting it has the right to defend itself from Hamas.
South Africa's wider case here accuses Israel of state-led genocide against Palestinians. A decision on that could take years, but the ICJ has rejected Israel's request to throw the case out. Jeremy Sherrill, CTV News, Ottawa.
The bodies of 3 hostages killed during the October 7th attack in Israel were recovered overnight from Gaza. The bodies of Hanan Yablonka, Orion Hernandez-Radu, and Michelle Nizenbaum were located, and their families have now been notified. The announcement comes less than a week after the army said it found the bodies of 3 other Israeli hostages. Hamas-led militants killed 1,200 people and abducted around 250 others. About half of the hostages have since been freed.
Egyptian security sources say food and fuel may soon start arriving in southern Gaza via Israel's Kerem Shalom crossing. An agreement between the presidents of Egypt and the United States would see aid temporarily sent to the UN in the territory. It would be delivered via the crossing in southern Israel at the Egyptian and Gaza borders. The sources tell Reuters that Egypt is coordinating with Israel on the aid. The shipments would continue until legal mechanisms are in place to reopen the nearby Rafah border crossing from the Palestinian side.
Ukraine's president says his country's forces have secured combat control in northern parts of Kharkiv region. In the city of Kharkiv, Volodymyr Zelensky visited a printing facility where an attack killed 7 people yesterday. Russia has launched an offensive into the north of the surrounding region, but the president says Ukrainian soldiers have managed to take control of the border area where the enemy struck on May 10th. The assault opened a new front in what Kyiv said was an effort to divert its outnumbered troops from the east, where the fiercest fighting is taking place.
Boeing has set a possible date for its first astronaut launch. The company's looking at June 1st. It follows weeks of review that show the Starliner capsule can safely fly 2 test pilots to the International Space Station. That's despite a small helium leak discovered following the first launch attempt on May 6th that was scuttled by a different problem that is now fixed. Engineers say that even if the leak worsens, it could be managed in flight. Coming up, emergency care specifically designed for those in crisis. We pay a visit to the new mental health zone in North York's General Emergency Department.
And I'm Pat Foran. Coming up on Consumer Alert, snoring can be annoying, but it can also be harmful to your health. If you're having trouble getting a good night's sleep, you should know snoring can be a sign of sleep apnea. But there are treatments that can help. I'll have my reports. That's just ahead.
And we've stayed above seasonal this entire week. The hot spot today, the folks in Hamilton. As we head throughout the weekend, we stay warm, but the weather gets a little messy. Coming up, we'll have a full look at your long-range forecast. And stay with us. We've got another full night of great shows for you right here on CTV.
You'll sure have a lot more energy throughout the day if you get a good night's sleep, but not everyone does due to a medical condition.
It's called sleep apnea. You may have heard of it, a disorder where your breathing stops and starts throughout the night. Here's Pat Foran and Consumer Alert. Pat.
Thanks, Nathan and Michelle. People with sleep apnea are usually loud snorers, and they often feel tired even after a full night's rest. The Canadian Lung Association says about 7% of Canadians have it, but there are ways to get a more restful sleep. Snoring is not just annoying, it can keep everyone in bed from getting a good night's sleep.
It becomes harder to operate where, you have to be up at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning because the kids are up and you're unable to do that.
Manish Amin tried lifestyle changes, but when those didn't work, he talked to his doctor about a sleep study.
An overnight sleep test can detect whether you have obstructive sleep apnea, which is when your breathing pauses during sleep because something blocks your airway.
Left untreated, obstructive sleep apnea can cause daytime sleepiness. It can also strain the heart and increase the risk of anxiety, diabetes, hypertension, and even stroke. The primary treatment for sleep apnea is a continuous positive airway pressure machine, or CPAP. Users are fitted with a mask connected to a pump that pushes air into the airway, holding it open while sleeping. CPAP can significantly reduce the number of breathing interruptions during the night, but patients often have complaints.
It requires daily cleaning, which is another thing to add to your day-to-day routine.
If the full face mask isn't for you, you might want to consider a nasal pillow or nasal mask. Another alternative are custom-made dental devices.
These are designed to move the jaw and to shift the tongue to the front of the mouth to keep the airway open, and they can be used along with CPAP.
In the U.S., there are devices like Inspire that are surgically implanted into the upper chest like a pacemaker. They stabilize your throat during sleep to prevent obstruction of the airway. With no hose or mask, it might seem more convenient. Inspire told CTV News it's not available in Canada. Amin says it's not something he would do.
Personally, I just wouldn't be comfortable undergoing surgery for something that can be managed without it.
It's important to realize that snoring and sleep issues can be serious, but a restful night could start after a good conversation with your doctor. And to reduce symptoms, to get a better night's rest, it's advisable to skip alcohol and sleep on your side or stomach. Losing weight can also help because obesity is a primary factor for sleep apnea. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
Well, we have been treated to several stellar days of weather this week. May is really finishing up in beautiful fashion. A live shot of the lake in Burlington behind us. People enjoying the water tonight.
Yeah, I'm hoping this run continues because it's just kind of perfect, these conditions right now.
We've lost the humidity that we had to start the week. That was kind of the Kickstarter for a lot of those storms that we saw, but now it's perfect. It does stay nice into the weekend, but we have some active weather to contend with first. So just bring an umbrella if you're going to doors open TO throughout your Saturday. The good news is it's not a wash of a day, but we are expecting some unsettled weather to kick off our weekend. Weather is brought to you by Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train. It really has been one of those like perfect spring, early summer days where we had just a light wind out there. We had the sunshine, light cloud, and it was just gorgeous to spend some time outdoors. That continues this evening if you wanted to get out for a walk, or maybe you're playing sports tonight outside, a great night to do so. Temperature-wise, we're sitting at 25 right now, really not contending with too much of a humidex, high pressure holding firm. 27 in Windsor, a little cooler out through Ottawa, and anywhere kind of north of Sault Ste. Marie, we're seeing kind of those mid-single digits, low double digits. Tonight, for us here in the city and throughout the majority of the GTA, holding on around 13, 14 degrees. Seasonal norms around 11, so we're pretty close. Everybody kind of right on par for where we should be. The active weather begins in that southwestern corner towards Windsor tonight and then sweeps its way across as we head throughout the day tomorrow. But even with the active weather, we don't cool down all that much. We'll be sitting at 24 for us, the same through London, Waterloo, Hamilton, Niagara at 25. It is quite comfortable even with the active weather. The bulk of the system, again, is going to be in northern Ontario, but a bit of a trough extending down off of that will kind of ride this cold front coming through. That's what we are going to see as we head throughout the day tomorrow. Timing it all out. Clear tonight if you're heading out this evening, absolutely stunning. It's as we head into kind of the late morning that we see the first round of rain. The chance of it will linger into about the early evening around 6, and then we'll see some sunshine before the day is over. So not a wash of a day by any means. And as we get into Sunday, lots of sunshine until about 7 p.m. and then we watch for the chance of showers to kind of roll in. Temperature-wise, we're just above that seasonal mark, start to finish Saturday and Sunday. Sunday, the drier day of the two. Some messy weather, that system that comes in late in the day Sunday brings us into Monday and Tuesday. We do cool down a little, a single-digit low Wednesday to kind of mark the middle of the week. And then again, just in time for Thursday and Friday next week, back to beautiful weather. Nathan.
Thank you, Jessica. Also tonight, unnecessary visits to the emergency room when a walk-in clinic will do because patients fear they'll be dropped by their family doctor. New insight on threats to de-enroll patients for seeking care elsewhere. People coming to North York General's emergency department now have a new, faster way to get mental health assistance.
Our health reporter Pauline Chan introduces us to the Purple Zone.
12 years ago, North York General played a key role in Andrew Bryczynski's life.
I was dealing with a diagnosis of what appeared to be depression and turned out to be complex post-traumatic stress disorder.
And the emergency department was a noisy, busy place.
It becomes very obvious that the space is built for physical ailments.
You're in a room with a little, like a little barrier there, and a person says, okay, we're gonna have a conversation, but don't worry, it's confidential. Now, can you please tell me about the most traumatic and worst things that you've been experiencing?
The lack of privacy and need for a calm, secure place devoted to mental health prompted the creation of North York General's new Purple Zone.
The goal was to improve patient experiences. The staff that are here are trained both as medical nurses and as mental health nurses. Our patients come directly from triage. So before, they would have had to go to triage, wait in an area, wait for the emerge doc to see them, be seen by an emerge nurse who doesn't have the mental health background, then wait hours upon hours upon hours.
We do see patients from maybe feeling a little bit of grief, depression, to patients who may be a danger to themselves or to others.
Nurse Mark Ong says people coming into the ER can be quickly diverted to the Purple Zone.
It streamlines their access to specialized mental health care.
The unit features individual, secure rooms with soothing surroundings.
I have come in crisis myself, in extreme crisis. And the lack of noise in the purple zone, the privacy, the fact that there's kind of individual attention, those are really big things.
Andrew now works as a peer counselor outside the hospital. Murat Guler is a peer support navigator with the Purple Zone.
The emergency department at North York General sees some 300 patients a day, with about 4% of those dealing with mental health problems.
So that 4%, as I say, keeps growing every year because the emerge volumes grow every year.
Sandy Marengo says their immediate plans include hiring more staff and building more connections with community mental health organizations. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
After our report a few weeks ago about patients who face the prospect of being dropped by their family doctors, CTV News has heard from dozens of people with similar stories. Doctors are able to de-roster patients under certain circumstances if they seek care elsewhere, for example, at walk-in clinics. A number of patients report visiting emergency departments for non-urgent matters to avoid that outcome when they can't get an appointment with a family doctor. Multi-platform writer Hannah Alberga has a closer look at the issue on our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For the third time in a week, police in York Region are investigating shots fired at a movie theater.
The shooting occurred in the middle of the night, but it may be part of a dangerous trend. CTV's Janice Golding has more.
Its website touts the York Cinemas as the Greater Toronto Area's newest movie theatre, playing movies in Tamil, Hindi, Malayalam and Telugu. But while the new theatre is a draw for moviegoers, it's also drawing unwanted attention from criminals.
Yeah, so since May 17th, we've had 3 incidents of shootings happening at the cinema. In each incident, it's been 3 different suspect vehicles. Fortunately, no one has been injured.
On Friday, May 17th, just before 10 p.m., surveillance video shows a white pickup truck outside the front entrance doors when multiple shots were fired. On Sunday, May 19th, just before 9:30, a red SUV drove by and a suspect fired multiple shots at the entrance doors. And today, at 2:30 a.m., a dark-colored SUV drove by the theater, a suspect firing shots that shattered the front doors.
We don't know if all 3 incidents are linked together. We are treating it as separate right now. But again, we want people to come forward who might know something.
This is not the first time this theater has been fired upon. On January 24th, 4 theaters in the GTA, including this one, had gunshots fired at their front doors. Following the shooting, Cineplex canceled screenings of a South Indian action film.
We don't have any information as to which movies are playing, if that might be a factor.
A 27-year-old Markham man was arrested late last month in relation to the January shootings, but police say they are looking for additional suspects and the investigation is ongoing. And of course, anyone with any information about the shootings here this May is asked to contact York Regional Police. Janice Golding, CTV News.
Oscar-nominated documentary filmmaker Morgan Spurlock has died.
The double quarter pounder with cheese meal. I think I'm gonna have to go supersize.
Spurlock shot to stardom in 2004 with the release of his feature film, Super Size Me. It saw him conduct an experiment where he only ate food from McDonald's for a month while documenting the impacts on his health. He had dozens of other titles under his belt over the years. Family members say he died yesterday in New York from complications of cancer. Morgan Spurlock was 53.
If you've been counting down to the next season of HBO's The Last of Us, there's some interesting casting news to share with you tonight.
No. We've only got one shot at this.
That is actor Jeffrey Wright in The Last of Us Part 2 from the video game series that inspired the screen adaptation. Variety reports he'll reprise his role as a militia leader named Isaac when season 2 drops next year. The post-apocalyptic drama has also cast Catherine O'Hara in an undisclosed role, while stars Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey are expected to return.
Actor Chris Hemsworth has become the latest celebrity to receive his own star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. The ceremony took place last night with longtime Avengers co-star Robert Downey Jr. paying tribute to Hemsworth as a remarkable human being. Hemsworth said he was grateful for the honor. It comes as his movie Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, officially hits theaters.
And that prequel film to 2015's Mad Max Fury Road is cruising to victory at the box office. Deadline reports it could bring in $40 million U.S. across the long weekend south of the border. His main competition will come from the Garfield movie, which is targeting more family-oriented audiences. Last week's #1, If, will be hoping to stay in the top 3.
After the break, major disappointment for Major League Soccer fans. Lionel Messi will not be playing in tomorrow's match in Vancouver. The pitch to try and appease angry fans. Coming up.
This document is nothing but a summary of their already existing procedure on divestment and disclosure, with a few minor tweaks to bait us into thinking that we are getting a good deal out of this.
Updating our top stories, encampment protesters at the University of Toronto have been given a Monday morning deadline to vacate the campus, or the school says legal action will be taken. U of T issued a notice of trespass this afternoon. Protest organizers say they have no plans to leave.
And on September the 5th, convenience stores like this one will be able to sell beer, cider, wine, and ready-to-drink alcoholic beverages.
The province has announced it's fast-tracking plans to increase the availability of alcohol across Ontario. This summer, grocery and big box stores will be able to sell pre-mixed drinks and larger cases of beer. And after Labor Day, beer and wine will be able to be sold in corner stores. Not everyone is cheersing the move. The Centre for Addiction and Mental Health says the province is choosing convenience over the health and well-being of Ontarians.
Affordable daycare is essential for families like mine, communities like this, but more than that, the entire economy of Ontario.
And there are new concerns tonight over how the province is funding the national $10 a day childcare program. The concerns come after a West End daycare announced it could be forced to close, which would leave parents and kids in the lurch.
Remember to keep up to date day and night through our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca, and by downloading the CTV News app. And if you have a news tip, photos, or video or breaking news, let us know.
A bitter boardroom battle at Montreal-based Gildan Activewear has finally come to a close. Amber Canwar of B&M Bloomberg has details.
Shares of T-shirt maker Gildan Activewear shot up today after the company's board of directors and CEO abruptly resigned. This ends a 5-month standoff with an activist shareholder over the future direction of the clothing maker and paves the way for the reinstatement of the company's former CEO, Glenn Chamandy. He was fired late last year, which prompted a shareholder revolt that ultimately forced the board out of their jobs to make way for Chamandy's return. Now let's take a look at the closing market numbers. We've got the Canadian dollar basically flat around 73 cents U.S. U.S. oil prices advancing by $1 per barrel. Canadian energy prices, however, slipping modestly. And the TSX advancing 120 points. That's the latest in business. I'm Amber Canwar in the B&N Bloomberg Newsroom.
The Business Report is brought to you by Canadian Western Bank, the bank built for business.
Soccer fans who bought tickets to watch superstar Lionel Messi play in Vancouver tomorrow are disappointed.
Tripled them in price, and then he doesn't even show up. So super, super disappointing.
They're not even making the trip, and it wasn't just Messi. It was Suarez and Busquets, too, who I also wanted to see. That just felt disrespectful and really, just really upsetting as a sports fan in BC.
The Vancouver Whitecaps announced Messi and 2 of his superstar teammates will not be at BC Place when the team takes on Inter Miami CF. In an attempt to curb fans' frustrations, the Whitecaps said food and beverages will be 50% off. The stadium is almost sold out already, with a club record of more than 54,000 people expected to be at the match.
Just ahead, this is the weekend to explore your own city. The doors will be open to experience many of Toronto's historical and cultural buildings, and it's all free. We'll give you the lay of the land after the break.
Tonight, from France to Canada, a hero's homecoming.
It's a great honor for me on something like this.
Soldiers from Newfoundland pay tribute to a fallen comrade from the First World War. That story and more later on CTV National News.
Hi, Toronto. I'm Teddy Wilson.
And I'm Nicole Cervinas. Welcome to Things to Know TO.
Each week, this show shines a spotlight on a wide variety of local businesses, services, events, and initiatives from across the greater Toronto area.
These companies are part of what makes Toronto one of the world's most vibrant cities and a great place to live, work, and play.
Join us every week on Saturday mornings for Things to Know TO.
And don't forget to visit our website, thingstoknowto.ca, to check out all of our great content.
A staple event on the city's cultural calendar is taking place this weekend. Doors Open Toronto. More than 160 historic and significant sites across all 25 wards will invite the public to areas they typically cannot access. Locations include museums, cultural landmarks, places of worship, and theaters, as well as City Hall, Queen's Park, and even Lower Bay Station, among many others. This year's theme is Hidden Histories. Doors Open Toronto runs Saturday and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. And you can find a list of participating locations on the city's website. I've gone through that list, and there are so many cool spots. Our city's awesome.
Yeah, it's just one of many things to do this weekend, Jess.
Oh, yeah. And there is some active weather tomorrow, but there are so many things you can do that are inside. So you can escape the rain, maybe go check out a cool venue or a cool museum. And there are so many different options for you. And the best part is that it's going to be nice in between all that. So if you want to go check it out Saturday, bring the umbrella. Sunday, you won't need it. Temperature-wise right now, it remains really mild. A beautiful evening. Not much in the way of any cloud cover, but there is rain. You can see it in the corner there knocking on the door. We're at 25 still here in the city, 27 through Windsor. Ottawa, a little cooler, but not by much. Comfortably at 17. If you're heading to the cottage, a bit of a stormy start, but it's beautiful into Sunday, and really for everyone, temperature-wise, pretty seasonal before a slight cool down as we head in towards the middle of next week. But overall, as we kind of wrap up the month of May, it really is quite beautiful. And by the time we get to next week, by Thursday, Friday, fantastic. And a reminder, tonight's Lotto Max jackpot is an estimated $70 million plus 12 Max Millions.
Thank you, Jess. That's it for us, but be sure to join Heather Butts tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Zoraida Allman with our next local newscast at 11:30.
In the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and online at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Jessica Smith and the whole team here at CTV News, thank you for watching and have a fabulous weekend.